everybody, welcome back into Cherry Picking. Today's video looking at the top 10 trade targets at the deadline and telling you where they are going to end up and how that'll impact that team. Maybe give some tidbits for the fantasy hockey guys out there as well. But the most important part, the top players and where they're going to end up. All right, first on the list, Brock Nelson, currently on the New York Islanders, will get traded to the Minnesota Wild. With how the injuries have gone, I think Bill Guerin, I think the whole team is very frustrated. You know, Kaprizov's surgery, injury timeline has been extended. Joel Eriksson-Ek's hurt right now. A bunch of other players have been hurt throughout the year, and I think they're starting to add players. They picked up Nyquist. I think they're going to add Brock Nelson to add that offensive, that forward piece that they need. They certainly have lacked scoring all year long. Even when Kaprizov is on the ice, he's the only guy who's really filling in that role. Now you have Rossi, Matt Boldy. I think Brock Nelson would be another great piece that they can add. You know, they have to hold on to that playoff spot that they have right now, and I think this is the best way and the best option that they can go. The next player we have, Rickard Rakell on the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's going to get traded to the Vancouver Canucks. Rakell is at his peak value right now. The Penguins are in their rebuild mode, or they say they're rebuilding. If they're doing that, they're going to trade him for as many assets as possible. I think the Canucks are a viable option. For one, they have a decent amount of cap space. I think they're kind of going to be transitioning at this point too. Maybe this is the move they make with moving Brock Besser, the Canucks, because I know that's also been an option out there as well. I think that can definitely be a way how these two teams make a trade for these two players, with Rakell going to the Canucks. However, if it's not the Canucks, I do still think Rakell is going to get traded from the Penguins at this time, considering what I said at the beginning. Like, this is the peak value you're going to get him at, so they can get the most for him. And if they're trying to rebuild, you try to get a couple assets, a couple picks. And I think that's really what you're going to get for Rakell right now, but I think the Canucks are the most viable option. John Gibson, one of the few goalies who is going to be maybe moved at the deadline at this one, the one who's in the most trade talks, who has been for the past 5 to 6 years. I don't think he's going anywhere. There's too many injury concerns. I think he'll either get moved and put on someone's LTIR. I don't think there really carries a ton of value for John Gibson right now on the Anaheim Ducks. I think he's going to stay on the Anaheim Ducks. I think it was definitely a possibility that he could have gone to Edmonton or a team like that looking for a goalie. But with the injury concerns and his cap hit, is it too much of a risk? I think it is. Brayden Schenn, currently on the St. Louis Blues, was one of the guys who's been talked about the most, I want to say, in the early parts of the trade deadline, like starting in February. I don't think he's going anywhere anymore. The St. Louis Blues have come out of the gate hot since the break. They've won 4 of the last 5 games. I think they're going to keep it going here. You know, there's something with the Blues. They've been able to turn around. Jim Montgomery has certainly helped them do that. Brayden Schenn is a key cog in that machine, and I think they're going to keep him with the team to see if they can make this playoff push. All right, Rasmus Ristolainen, he's on the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think he will be a Winnipeg Jet. I don't think the Jets are going to do a whole lot at the deadline. Like, their team is already very good top to bottom, but I think if there's one move they do, I think Ristolainen is a pretty good fit on that Jets team, adding a little bit more depth, a little bit more, offensive ability in that back end other than just Morrissey and Pionk. I think Ristolainen would be a very good fit for the Jets. If they do make a move, I think this makes the most sense. Dylan Cousins, currently on the Buffalo Sabres, trapped in Buffalo, and I think he's going to get traded to the Montreal Canadiens. With Kirby Dach now on IR again, out for the season. Once again, I think Montreal at this point, you kind of have to move on from him, kind of feel bad for the guy, but Dylan Cousins would be a great guy to fit into that second center role with Newhook and Line A at this point. I think Cousins has kind of extended his value, his worth to the Sabres at this point. Like, there's been so many guys' growth who's been stunted just staying on this Buffalo Sabres team. And I think Dylan Cousins at the perfect time at this point to really get out. We've seen, Eichel have a ton of success. Brandon Montour have a ton of success. Sam Reinhart in the same light as well. I think we're going to see Dylan Cousins do the same thing here. I think Montreal is a great place to go for him. An up-and-coming team. Kent Hughes and Martin St. Louis, pretty solid management and coaching staff there right now. They're certainly headed in the right direction, and I think this would be a perfect move for Cousins. Brandon Tanev on the Seattle Kraken. Pierre LeBrun tweeted earlier on Tuesday, I believe, that the Seattle Kraken are going to be moving Brandon Tanev and willing to retain 50% of his salary to move him. So it's pretty much a deadlock that he will be traded at this point. I think the Colorado Avalanche make the most sense. You can never have enough forecheckers for the playoffs, and I think he's like the ultimate type of playoff player you want to have on your team. Continuing to make moves, Colorado is, and I think this is one that just makes the most sense to me. They've already traded for Blackwood. They made the trade for Lindgren in the past week or so. They did originally make that trade for Parsonen, but then shipped him off for the Rangers again. So I think they're just going to keep moving pieces here. Trading Rantanen, I think they're just going to keep moving pieces here, and I think Tanev is going to be a Avalanche by the end of the deadline. All right, Luke Kunin on the San Jose Sharks. I think he will be a Toronto Maple Leaf when the deadline is all said and done. Another depth forward forward to add to the Leafs. I think they're also going to be looking for a defenseman to add at this point. This works well, can kind of fit anywhere in the lineup. He's a solid penalty killer. Again, similar to like a Tanev move, very solid forechecker, can score goals on your third and fourth line, something Toronto just continues to need and have a need for in the playoffs as well. So I think Luke Kunin makes the most sense for a forward that Toronto Maple Leafs are going to get. All right, so Mikko Rantanen, currently on the Carolina Hurricanes. If he is traded, because I'm going to go into it a little bit more, I think he will be on the Utah Hockey Club by the end of the NHL trade deadline, if Carolina decides to trade him. So we know Carolina put some sort of offer in front of him. People said it was like 13 to 14 million per year, I believe it was. Even if he doesn't stay long-term in Carolina, like Carolina's still trying to win a cup, but they will not want to happen what happened to Gensel to Rantanen, if that makes sense, if you follow that. So in that sense, if they do trade Rantanen, I think it'll be to Utah. They want a big-time player. I think they want to make a big-time splash in the market as well. Like, when has Arizona or Utah really ever done that? They've just drafted pretty solid with some of the guys that they have now, Clayton Keller, Dylan Guenther, Logan Cooley. This is the big trade maybe they make for Rantanen to help them maybe make the playoffs, and then they re-sign him long-term as well because they have a lot of cap space. I think that makes the most sense. If he gets traded as a rental again, Dallas just makes so much sense. Dallas is going to be gunning for that cup, obviously, this year. Already traded for Granlund. They have Hintz, Lindell, Heiskanen. They have so many Finns on that team already. I think that would be a really good fit as well. It's such a crapshoot what's going to happen to Rantanen, but those are kind of all the possibilities that I can see in my mind. Casey Middlestat is the last guy we're going to be talking about, currently on the Colorado Avalanche. I think he's going to be a Devil when the deadline is all said and done at this point. With Jack Hughes out, and if he is definitely out, like on LTIR, and it opens $8 to $8.5 million in cap space, Casey Middlestat seems like the perfect option. I think they're already gunning for a center. They're going to need another center to support Nico Hischier. He could be that guy. I don't think the relationship, or just the partnership, you can call it, in Colorado with Middlestat has worked well. I think his play has been underwhelming, not necessarily what they've been looking for, and I think this would be a good option out for them. They could probably get some pretty decent pieces back too. So I think Middlestat going to the Devils, if Hughes does go on LTIR, makes a lot of sense and helps them stay in that playoff push to make sure they get to the playoffs with Hughes, back in the lineup. All right, so there's 10 trade deadline targets and where their final destinations will be. Hope you guys enjoyed this style of video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Comment if you did actually, and I will continue to do these type of videos too. Appreciate your guys' support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.